Number 8, FAU, last year's darling, going to the Final Four at 25-8 out of the American. They're going to be playing number 9 Northwestern, who's 21-11. 12:15 tip on Friday afternoon on CBS. FAU, a 2.5-point favorite here, over under 141.5. Sean, who do you like to move on in this one and why?
So I think that this is a great game to start Friday morning. Two teams that have experience, they have tournament experience, two teams that can light it up from three. FAU shooting 36%, and Northwestern's fourth in the country at 39%, almost 40. Neither team can defend the three either. So I like this over 141.5 number a lot. Nobody can defend the 3-point line, and they both light it up. But when it comes down to it, I think this game is going to be close, and I trust Buie with the ball in his hands late. That dude can go out there and win you a March Madness game. Like, he has that in him, and Northwestern is the better free throw shooting team, which I think is going to come down to it in this game. So I'll take Northwestern to move on in a little bit of a semi-upset here.
Joe?
Yeah, I agree with everything Sean said. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Northwestern wins this game. I do love Buie as well. Guy with the name that, if they go and win a game or two, he'll be an immediate March Madness hero. But I'm going with FAU here just because, and it is kind of dependent on what FAU team you get, because you've seen, at their peak, they can go out and beat Arizona on a neutral court. But their floor, they're losing to Bryant at home. They're losing to Temple in the American, was it the semifinals or the quarterfinals, Coyle? Semifinals, yeah. But I think FAU at the end of the day, just coming off of last year's Final Four run, those guys are, playing to kind of prove that they weren't a fluke. Because this year, they've definitely had, like I was kind of just saying, they've had their highs, but they've also had very, very deep lows this year. I'm going to go with FAU to win a game and set up, two Final Four teams from last season playing in Brooklyn on Sunday.
Yeah, it was another thing I didn't mention at the top. 3 teams from last year's Final Four, all in this region as well, which is pretty crazy. There's like 4 or 5 games in the bracket where I truly wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way. Like, there's some I have pretty good conviction on, other than obviously the top teams winning. But this is one of those games that I think it's a pure coin flip game, and a prop that I'm not a prop, but a bet that I'm looking for some of these coin flip games, the overtime odds on it. This one is plus 950 to go to overtime. Maybe if I have a bad day on Thursday, maybe put this out at the beginning to get some of your losses back. But I think this could be an awesome game to kind of tip off that day on Friday. I like this FAU team, obviously, what they did last year. I was kind of saying it throughout the season. I think they were just on cruise control a little bit. But when they played some of these better teams, they stepped up. That Arizona game was one of the best games of this season. The Memphis game last week, the week before the conference tournament, that was a really good game. They've shown up against some of these good teams. It's the bad teams that they've kind of slipped up against. But now that they're in the tournament, they know they have something to play for again. I think that's kind of the difference maker. I'm a huge Buie fan, though. I think he could definitely get Northwestern a win. But over their last 9 games, he's played 37 or more minutes in 8 of them. I think it might just be a little bit too much on his shoulders and a little bit too worn down. They're just a little too reliant on him. When you look at FAU, they have multiple guys that could hurt you. 3 guys that average 13 or a game or more, with Davis averaging 18, Vlad Golden averaging 15, and Elijah Martin averaging 13. And FAU was 9-3 this season when John L. Davis scored 20 or more points. So I just think this FAU team has a little bit too much depth, but I do think it's going to be a pretty awesome game. And I'm probably going to take the over in this one. I think we're going to see a lot of shots made from the perimeter going back and forth, but real fun game here to tip off Friday.